Okay, a very big hello. My name is Federico Ree, and this is InspireTalk. And we are continuing the Aussie Disruptor series in February and essentially unveiling the minds of 5 entrepreneurs that have disrupted their industry. And today, in particular, we are looking at the sector of hospitality and pretty much tapping into the brain of an amazing young entrepreneur. Her name is Sally Illingworth, and I'd like to introduce her right now as we speak. How are you, Sally?
Hi, Federico. How are you?
Absolutely great, thank you. So you're currently in Sydney, but I know that you're based in Darwin, Australia. What a lovely remote place in the world you live.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very different to Sydney. But Sydney saw some of Darwin's weather over the weekend, so that was good.
So hot and humid, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's it.
So look, thanks so much for being available today, and really for you to share with me your insights in the industry sector, I guess, of fast food and so forth. So I guess for the viewers or the listeners, I'd like them to sort of get an understanding on your background and what you do. And this is essentially how you present yourself on a public profile. So you're an entrepreneur and you have a wealth of experience and knowledge within the hospitality industry, particularly within the QSR or fast food sector. And
Yeah.
since 2012, you've dedicated a very large portion of your time or professional career within this sector, especially with Crust Gourmet Pizza Bar. And you are now a franchise partner in the Northern Territory region, but also a corporate sales and performance executive. And today you continue to operate within the hospitality sector and pretty much disrupting the process of the fast food industry. So I guess with that word disruption, Sally, it's essentially the key of what we're looking at today, and really want to understand maybe what that means to you. Maybe we can start with that one. Disruption, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so essentially to me the act of disrupting something means to be continuously challenging and innovating something that's already existing. And look, I think disruption is necessary for all businesses, large and small, to disrupt, because if you're not remaining competitive and innovative and all that sort of stuff, I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to progress with anything. And, you know, that applies to a brand like Crust Gourmet Pizza Bar. It applies to me personally, and all that sort of stuff. So it is quite a big thing to be disrupting, but I think it's important that everyone's disrupting, and you'll see different brands and businesses doing it in their own ways. And something like Crust, for example, we disrupt in ways whereby we are continuously trying to find different ways to explore flavors of the world through our menu offerings. And that's something that we have as a unique offering in comparison to some of our competitors in the hospitality industry. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on. And it's very, very important to us that we remain disruptive in that manner. So, yeah.
Wow, what a great intro to the whole terminology of disruption. So look, the term disruption nowadays is getting used quite common, or is quite common, but I do know that amongst young entrepreneurs like yourself, it is a term that is seriously becoming more of the norm in terms of how business is getting adjusted and changed, and within the retail sector of food, certainly that's taking place, as you've noted. So I guess let's wind back to the beginning of your journey or your career, and I guess calling yourself an entrepreneur, you know, looking at day one of your venture or your career, what were you thinking many years ago when you started your career, and what was your vision, I guess, back then?
Well, when I started my career, it all sort of, it was based on the idea of I wanted to become self-sufficient, and I'd moved out of home quite young. So that was my biggest mission. And it was just a matter of, okay, well, how exactly am I going to do that? And so I stumbled across the Crust Gourmet Pizza Bar brand when I was 16. And then it all sort of came from there. And I mean, with that, as much as I've always been a part and an advocate for the Crust Gourmet Pizza Bar brand, it's also important for me as an entrepreneur to ensure that, you know, I think the biggest thing that comes with being an entrepreneur is that you take control of everything you do and all the results that you bring and all that sort of stuff. And that I think a very, very big part of it is that you don't allow you don't allow yourself to be a result of your circumstances, but rather your choices in life. And for me, that involves using the Crust Gourmet Pizza Bar brand, which I am a huge, huge advocate for, to go and achieve what I want to achieve, which is to show other people, particularly young people and women like myself, that you know, that if whatever you set your mind to, you can go and do it. It does take hard work, and that you do have to believe in yourself, as corny as that does sound.
Yep.
And I think that, you know, that's my mission, is to do that through the Crust Gourmet Pizza Bar brand system, and show other people that they can do it as well. So
I guess you've touched upon some key points there, which kind of sums up your legacy, what you're doing here, and taking control, hard work, and maybe not allowing the circumstances around you to affect your outcome or your performance. And I guess I'm hearing this all the time amongst entrepreneurs, and I guess that constitutes for me the formula to success. And obviously for some people, certain things are more important than others. In that mix, I also like to include the word inspiration, and I guess we need inspiration or passion to succeed. So, looking at what inspired you to start your career, particularly in the hospitality sector, can you sort of share some insights there?
yeah, so when I had left home, and I decided one day, I had an epiphany of some sort, that I wanted to start earning my own money and not rely on my parents. I went to the closest train station to my house and applied at every single job possible with something that I called a resume, but now looking at it, it's nothing like a resume. And I managed to get a phone call from a business owner about half an hour later, asking me to come in for a trial shift. And I actually had no idea which business she was calling from, because I didn't afford any time to pay attention to which businesses I was applying at for a job. And then, so it all sort of took off from there. And about 3 months after I'd started working at a franchise store within the Crust brand, I was presented an opportunity to become to go and work at another corporate site, which I shortly after ended up managing. And then prior to finishing year 12, I had a letter of offer to take on a role with Crust headquarters based in Queensland, which then required me to relocate. So about 4 days after completing the HSC in Sydney, I relocated. I wasn't fearful at all. I sort of just grabbed it with both hands and took it. I mean, I sort of looked at it as I have nothing to lose at the end of the day. And then it sort of took off from there. So by the time I was 17, I was working in my first corporate role. And then by the time I was 18, I was a franchise partner with the Crust brand system. So yeah, it's been pretty exciting.
Definitely a very dynamic career you've had so far, and I guess with every dynamic or entrepreneurial career, there are always challenges that we face. So I guess looking into those challenges, can you sort of think of a few that perhaps really rocked the boat in the early years of starting this career of yours, or all the ventures that you've established or looking at establishing? So I guess what are the challenges?
Yeah, look, the consistent challenge for me has been my age. I mean, so even starting your first corporate role at the age of 17 with a very, very large company, it is very, very challenging. And I mean, becoming a franchise partner by the age of 18, that was very challenging as well, considering I hadn't pursued any additional studies at university or anything like that. So I was, it was more so my experience and what I'd taught myself, via Google and all that sort of stuff. But I suppose the biggest, I did cop a lot of confrontation, especially from some people that I thought at the time were friends, and, asking me, oh, do you know what you're doing? And, you're too young to be doing this. And I mean, look, the important thing is that when you have people like that are naysayers and all that sort of stuff, that you somewhat, try and disregard what they're saying, because at the end of the day, of course, it's going to be challenging. And if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's a key thing that a lot of people in the industry and other industries, but a lot of young entrepreneurs need to take on board and be willing to accept that you're not going to please everyone, and that a lot of people are going to challenge you if you're challenging the status quo. So
Definitely challenging the status quo is another good one. And look, I can certainly share with you a million experiences about dealing with the skeptics, and I know that the best antidote is to ignore the majority of them, unless they're professionals in the industry that perhaps can give you a different perspective that's worth looking into. In terms of, I guess, your career, your ventures, how do they positively impact people's lives in a general sense in Australia, and maybe even go further across the globe?
Yeah, so I mean, look, the becoming a franchise partner has given me, it's presented me with a of opportunities really, and some that lie very close to my heart. So I mean, for the previous 2 years, I've celebrated each of my business's birthdays by fundraising funds for the Make-A-Wish Foundation in Australia. which is really close to home for me because when my brother was 10, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and the foundation supported him throughout. So, I mean, being in a position to be able to raise funds for an organisation like that I support and a lot of other people support, and that does very, very good for people in our community, is something that I really enjoy, and I feel privileged to be in a position to be able to support them. And other things are, you know, like local schools, sporting organisations, and just being able to help them, you know, whether it's via donations for, you know, quiz night prizes or feeding teams and all that sort of stuff after Saturday games. It's actually, I find it a privilege to be able to do it. And also a big focus for me with my business in Darwin has been encouraging school students, particularly those studying, you know, business studies, commerce, or economics, to, you know, join the workforce on a casual basis and sort of validate their learnings in line with their syllabus. And so, yeah, it's been very, very good.
Look, it's very honourable that you're, you know, doing what I call philanthropy. Perhaps it's a sort of a more sophisticated term to describe, you know, the fundraising or the community engagement or support of your work. But the bottom line is, you know, as entrepreneurs or as serial entrepreneurs, it's critical that we do engage in philanthropy, obviously to benefit the community and the world as a whole, rather than just looking at our own interests. So coming back to the term disruption, I guess, why is it important to disrupt in the marketplace? What's your further perspective on that?
Yeah, well, as I said before, I mean, look, if you're not disrupting, you're not remaining competitive. And at the end of the day, I mean, particularly with technology and everything's advancing so quickly, and, you know, consumers have more choices than they've ever had before, and things are becoming more and more accessible. It's very, very important that people, all businesses, all companies, all brands are disrupting. And that requires work from, you know, not just from brand management, but it needs to streamline down into every single employee, and everyone needs to be on the exact same page in terms of, you know, understanding why are we doing what we're doing and how can we bring value to our customers. And then, you know, from that, then you determine, okay, how are we going to do it? And then you determine through what. So, you know, for example, with my own career, it comes down to, okay, well, you know, I want to encourage other people to go out there and do what they want to do and achieve what they want to do. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to tell my story and I'm going to show people it's possible. And what am I going to use to do it? I'm going to use the craft brand system, which I'm passionate about, and we sell an exceptional pizza product, to go and do that. So, yeah, I think it's very important when you're trying to disrupt, just understanding the basis of why you're doing what you're doing and why you're making certain changes, whether it's to a product or a service. And yeah.
Excellent. So bringing value to customers.
Yeah.
Bringing value to customers is kind of the essence of what you're saying. So I guess taking that one step further with competition or competing in the marketplace, obviously in your sector, it's highly competitive. And look, I've come up with 3 areas that I would regard as very important to compete, and they include forming strategic partnerships versus having sufficient venture capital versus being an influential leader. So of those 3 categories, which of the 3 would you say is the most important, or do you have a favorite?
I'd say being an influential and purposeful leader, which takes me back to the why. So understanding why you're doing what you're doing, and then, you know, being able to lead people and encourage people to join you on that journey. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing and you can't lead people to sort of jump on that with you, at the end of the day, forming strategic partnerships and securing venture capital, they almost become redundant. So, because you need people to support your cause, whether it's you are selling a pizza or, you know, you're selling something online, or you're selling clothing, whatever it may be. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to be successful with it, you need to understand your why and then be able to lead people with that, and then, you know, secure venture capital and form strategic partnerships thereafter. So.
Look, that's fantastic. And look, I can see just by the way you think, by the way you communicate, that you are a good leader in terms of the vision that you're sharing and the stories you're telling. So, you know, influential leadership, you call it purposeful leadership, is obviously very key. I totally support your legacy on that one. So I guess looking at the success of an entrepreneur, so I guess it's not just about competition. It is also about one own's goals and efforts. Between talent, education, and connections, what do you think, or what experience have you had so far to say, look, talent or education or connections is most important as an entrepreneur?
Look, I'd say out of the three, I mean, you somewhat require ambition and resilience, to be able to go out and achieve all three, or at least be satisfied with what you've achieved. But I'd say education, and continuous education more so, though, because, I think there's a lot of people that, they believe that once they've completed high school or they've gone to university, that their formal education somewhat ends there. But for me, look, I believe that you should be educating yourself every single day. And I think it was Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger once said, you should go to bed every day smarter than when you woke up. And I'm a firm believer in that. And that we always need to continuously be educating ourselves, not only to be better in our business and selling what we sell and providing service to customers, but also for the benefit of ourselves so that we can make better decisions. And then shortly after that, I'd say comes forming strong connections with other people, which can quite often prove beneficial to yourself and to your business. And then I'd say after that, talent. And I've heard some people say that, you've either got talent or you don't, you're either born with it or you're not.
Yeah.
But look, I believe it can be developed and enhanced over time. And that somewhat takes you back to that continuous education and, training yourself and coaching yourself and finding mentors to be able to improve your talent in whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, look, it's interesting how you've rated talent somewhat last or third place, and I guess that's just your general gut feeling on that. I guess a lot of people might say that talent is overrated, and like you've said, you're either born with it or you're not born with it, and I guess there's no exact right or wrong answer to that. In fact, I have a philosophy myself that is, you're not born an entrepreneur, you become one if you think like one. So I guess, regardless of whether you're born with a talent or not, you can develop that skill or that mindset going forward. Do you sort of support that philosophy that I have?
Yes, I do. I do support that very much.
Right, interesting. So I guess some of the keywords you've used here is ambition, resilience, but continuous education and improvement. So I'm totally supporting you on that one too. Moving forward into, I guess, what the future holds within Australia as far as opportunities for young aspiring entrepreneurs. I've just recently spoken to or met up with George Kalambaris, and I'm sure you know who he is. And it was interesting to see his story as a young aspiring entrepreneur back in the past. But now looking at you, the other spectrum in terms of age, and starting out in the early years, what opportunities does the hospitality industry bring to people like yourself?
Look, there's a lot of opportunities and there's also a lot of challenges. And I mean, look, the Australian marketplace is quite good in terms of, it's very, very multicultural. And in recent years, we have seen, the entry of some exceptional products and different flavor profiles from across the world. And as I said before, things, such as the growth in like third-party delivery platforms and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's enabling, different foods and different concepts to enter the market, particularly the delivery market, a lot more easily, which brings value again to consumers, and it provides them with more choice, which is always beneficial. But look, I think there's heaps of room for improvement, and there's a lot of growth available in the hospitality industry, particularly for people with different concepts, whether it be from somewhere in America or wherever it may be. But I think there's definitely lots of opportunity here. So.
Fantastic. As you were speaking, I was thinking about the good old days of fast food in the earlier pioneering years, and Ray Kroc and McDonald's. And I'm sure that you've come across that story many times yourself. I guess no matter what sector or what stage in our development we're at within the industry, there are always opportunities. So, I mean, you're talking about new improved delivery mechanisms or platforms, which suggests to me it's really about technology. It is about the online space. So I guess with an understanding of technology and incorporating perhaps a new app that helps facilitate that whole process, what you're saying to me, what I'm hearing is that is where the opportunities lie in your sector. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. And there's a brand, Crust Gourmet Pizza Bar. We've recently partnered with a company called Delivery Command, which is essentially driver tracking software and the delivery data intelligence software. So, and what that's enabling us to do is two key things. So it's quite a win-win in terms of we can, improve our service to two stakeholders at the same time with a solitary partnership. So we are able to provide improved service to our customers by tracking our drivers, and therefore making I suppose the logistics of delivery a lot more efficient and transparent to the customer. And at the same time, it helps us to improve the profitability of the delivery businesses for our franchisees. So something like that, yeah, again, it's technology, and it does play a key role, again, in disrupting the industry and all that sort of stuff. So technology is the big one.
Interesting. And it's like technology and fast food is taking over first class dining, going out to a restaurant. And I'm sure that over the years that will gradually take place. It's like I'm looking into the distant future here, but it's actually happening now as we speak. Look, I'm conscious of your time, Sally, and we've got, say, another 5 minutes for a bit of a chat. Then my next area is really about change. And I guess if there was one thing you could do within your own powers, or perhaps within the industry itself, what would that thing be that would, again, positively impact people and pretty much further disruption? What would it be?
If I could change something, it would be, hopefully, I mean, I don't think it's a one-stop thing where I could actually change it in the click of a finger, or even with a lot of work. But I mean, just encouraging people and influencing people, whether they're on a similar path to myself or a different one altogether. I think it's important that, people, it's all about mindset at the end of the day. And like you said before, thinking like an entrepreneur, and that's how you become an entrepreneur. And at the end of the day, our thoughts are so powerful. And if we don't control our thoughts and think positively and believe, as corny as it all sounds, then we're never truly going to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. So if there was one thing I could change, it would be the way that, people believe in themselves and empower themselves. And that comes to, that applies to individuals and companies as well, brands and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing. Yeah.
Look, it's interesting that you talk about mindset. You do talk about entrepreneurial, motivation and so forth within a workplace environment. And I use the term intrapreneurship, a term that's very commonly used, abroad in the US and the UK. And I guess I'm throwing that in the mix to say there needs to be more entrepreneurial activities going on in the workplace. In other words, encouraging the employee to think more entrepreneurially like yourself. So if there were more people like you within the company, it'd be amazing how much disruption would actually take place.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the exact same thing. And I think it comes down to, encouraging employees to go beyond the call of duty and, almost act like they own the business or they own the brand, and which again takes you back to the why. So, believing in why you're doing what you're doing, and then you become an advocate for it, you support it and all that sort of stuff. And if you had corporations where every single employee was on the same page, and they all understood exactly why, and they were all working towards the same goal, and they did engage in entrepreneurship and all that sort of stuff, it'd be amazing as to what we could achieve.
Definitely. Look, I have one more question, and it's kind of a question that you've partly answered, and it is about the future of hospitality across the globe. Do you envisage any programs or initiatives, say, over the next 5 to 10 years that would, again, flip everything upside down once again? So, what we call disruption now is nothing compared to what it will be in 5 to 10 years' time. If you had, a crystal ball, what would you say that thing could be?
Yeah, look, again, technology. I'd say sustainable packaging, quality agricultural products, and improved employee relations as well. I mean, look, at the end of the day, all of those things are going to improve people's lives in a positive manner. And ironically, it is people like entrepreneurs and disruptors and all that sort of stuff that force businesses, large and small, to work on improving those sorts of things that come with their corporation. So I'd say that's the future of it. Yeah, and that.
Fantastic. Look, you've given me more than what I bargained for here, Sally. In fact, I've written down a whole page full of notes, and some of my favourite points that you've raised, I guess, to sum up your mindset and your legacy. And again, I've probably noted down 20, but I'll probably say only about 5. One of them is take control, hard work. It's also about bringing value to customers. It is about continuous education and improvement. It's also about technology and data intelligence. And maybe my favorite of all of them is to believe in yourself. And it's always never too hard to achieve what you strive and what you dream in. So having said that, Sally, I'd like to give you a million thanks for your time and for your industry insights. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. So I guess if someone wanted to get hold of you or your organization or your environment, how would they do that most effectively?
The best point of contact would be via LinkedIn. So just Sally IIingworth. That'd be the best point of contact. So, and I'd like to add as well, it's actually quite funny that I just realized that on that list of things, that the key points that you've taken from this, it might seem bizarre that something like, making money and profits and all that sort of stuff don't show up on the list too high up the list. But I mean, I'd just like to add that something, profits to me, that's a result of, what you're doing. And so you're understanding why, you understand how you're going to do it, and then you go and do it. So at the end of the day, I think it's important, especially for myself with quite a large brand, that, we accept that our profits are indicative of our performance and the value we provide to consumers. So yeah, I just thought it was funny that it's not on the list, but
I guess cash is king, and let's
yeah,
not
that's
forget.
it.
At
But a
the end
bit
of
of
the day,
clarity, yeah.
it is a commercial venture. So look, thanks
Yeah.
again, Sally. To stay on the line as I end this hangout. So just one moment. Thank you.
Thank you.